Dave,
John,
Shane,
Chad,
these sci-fi guys.
Welcome to these Sci-Fi Guys. I am your host, Dave, and with me is Chad, John, and Shane. Today, the movie we're going to be discussing is the movie 9. Just 9.
Just 9.
9. It was actually done by Tim Burton, or he didn't really do much on it. It's just his name is affiliated with it. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, he's the one that did the movie this week. And we're gonna I think we got a lot to talk about this week. I'm kind of shorthanded this past weekend. I was on a cruise, so I had like no internet access. You know, it was a great time. I did bring the movie with me. I had it on my device, so I got to watch it and watch some behind the scenes stuff. So
A responsible podcaster.
I'm sorry, what?
Said a responsible podcaster.
That's right, responsible. Yeah. You know, I could have been playing bingo or watching shows, but no, I'm watching movie for this.
our dedicated host.
I still did that anyway. Well, with that, let's go behind the scenes. Okay. I gotta pull up a different window here. Here we go. All right, so I got too many things on my screen. Give me 1 second here. Got to figure this out. There we go. All right, so this movie. Let me pull this up here. This movie. You see this handsome-looking guy here with the wannabe mohawk? Yeah. No. Shane Acker. Shane Acker. This guy. I mean, you're right. He kind of looks like what's his name? The guy that does Facebook.
Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
Zuckerberg.
Like a young Zuckerberg.
He does.
You know, I can see that. But anyway, this guy, Shane Acker, he directed, wrote, and co-animated a short film called 9. Same as the movie. It was an 11-minute video. So anyway, he did this as a graduation project, which won a student award at his school, and Tim Burton ended up finding out and seeing this short and said, I want to make a movie out of it. So anyway, he ended up getting involved. You know, he didn't do anything with the plot. He didn't do anything really with the writing or anything. Most of that was all Shane, you know, but Shane was smart enough to know when, hey, I know when I need to stand back. I know when I need to go forward. You know, I can't do everything like he did on the short. He did most of it on the short. He had help with a little other, few things here and there. But anyway, so the movie came out. It was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Animated Short Film. I'm sorry, the short was nominated for that. It did not win it, though. Tim Burton saw the short, and Tamir, I cannot pronounce his name, Beckman Beethof. Anyway, he's from Focus Features. Both of them produced the feature film with Attitude Studios in Luxembourg and Stars Animation in Toronto. So Acker was the head director and story writer. It's what you need to know, basically. He's the one that kind of called the shots. So anyway, well, there really wasn't a lot of information for behind the scenes stuff. One thing that is, we're going to go ahead and we're going to discuss the cast. You know, a lot of people are like, well, who was 9? Who was this? Okay, I'm going to go through it with you guys. Number 1, Christopher Plummer. You know, famous Canadian actor. He has been in so many different things. One of the best things that I know, most of y'all, I'm saying most of y'all, I know Chad has. I don't know. Can you see it behind me? Star Trek: The Undiscovered Country. He was Chang.
Oh,
just leave it there. So, because I know John hasn't seen the movie yet, so I don't want to say too much of who Chang is. Okay. Number 2 was Martin Landau. I know him better from Space 1999. That's what the picture's from. But he was also in Mission Impossible, the original TV series back in the 60s, and several other things. Okay. 3 and 4, they didn't have any actors because 3 and 4 were basically all you saw was their lights, their and they didn't really have any speaking roles. So there was no actor. So they got to save some money on that. 5. Shake and bake, baby. Shake and bake. John C. Reilly was 5, which I thought was quite humorous. He's such a comedian and the roles he plays.
Yes.
6 was Crispin Glover from Back to the Future. Was 6. And you just don't. I don't know. I never knew that's who it was. I mean, I
Me neither.
Put the voice to it or whatever. I was just like, what? Number 7, Jennifer Connelly.
Kind of figured.
She was great in this movie. She was
really good in this movie, but she's a lesser known actress. She's been in several things, but always it's been a smaller role, never like a lead role or whatever. 8 is the one that'll get it. I got such a kick out of. 8 is Fred Tatasciore. I guess that's how you pronounce it. Anyway, Fred is on the. I'm sorry, my I'm getting text galore because we just came back from a vacation and our relatives just got home. They live in Louisiana, so it was like a 13-hour drive for them.
Wow.
And so my screen's popping up over here saying, "Hey, yeah, we made it home." Blah blah blah. So sorry about that. Got me distracted. Anyway, from Lower Decks, Star Trek Lower Decks. All right, he was one of the main characters on that. Shanks is who he is, Lieutenant Shanks. So, he's one of my favorite characters on there. He's hilarious. All right, and then if you've never seen any Star Trek, honestly, it's a fun show to watch. It really is. It does not take itself seriously. So it's what Star Trek should be. It should be fun and enjoyable, but yet you still get stuff out of it. Okay, right. And then 9. Everyone's like, "Who was 9? 9. He's the main character. Who was 9? 9.
Frodo.
Elisha Woods." So, anyway, yeah, Frodo.
Now, see, we say Tim Burton didn't have much of a hand in it, but to have some of those as cast, being as star-studded as they were, that's the hand.
That's Tim Burton.
Yes,
yeah,
you're right.
He was able to get them in.
That is because of his name and his contacts and all that. He got a lot of those actors. You wouldn't have had that star-studded cast, really.
Not for that.
Without that. Well, the only other thing for behind the scenes I've got is basically. I know we joked about it last week, but it actually came out in the office. It came out in the theaters on 9/9/09. So September 9th, 2009 is when it actually came out in the theaters, and that's how they advertised.
Hammer, man.
It was it actually had a budget of $30 million. And it grossed $48 million. So it made some money. It basically broke even just in the United States. The United States was $31 million. And then international was about $17 million. So,
yeah, that checks out.
Yeah, it wasn't a, oh man, this is Star Wars type or whatever. It wasn't designed to be that type of movie.
Yeah, it wasn't a blockbuster.
No, and it was super short. It really was. It was like 1 hour and 19 minutes. And I actually counted it as like, of that 19 minutes, like 8 of them were credits.
Yeah.
So it was like a total of 1 hour and like 8 minutes, So it's a really short movie. All right. Who picked this movie?
John.
Shane, did you pick it?
No, John did.
John picked the movie. And John's raising his hand. John, we're on audio. Don't forget that. All right.
Well, I said me, but I don't know if it comes through. You know.
Well, it probably didn't. We probably talked over you. So, okay. Well, that means John has the questions. Okay.
So
rock on.
Despite its short time, it definitely makes you think quite a bit. And even without going into the full story and thinking through it, even just thinking about certain sci-fi elements. But we'll start. I guess other questions I had fairly simple, relatively. So the movie has kind of a different take on machines taking over. It definitely hits, I guess, more the steampunk type of deal, with it being set or around World War II, that sort of timeline, just kind of like in a different parallel universe, whatever. So thinking about all the machines that are there, what elements do you think seem most realistic for that era of time? Like, early 40s, late 30s.
think the early so like some of the early stages of AI, and they kind of went into that when he was actually talking about building the brain, or the main machine. I can't think of what he called it, but
The brain.
was it the brain? Okay. When he was talking about that, you could tell very much an early form of AI, artificial intelligence, that kind of thing, and really and truly, it made sense for that kind of era simply because it was very, very kind of new, kind of a simplistic in what we would think of it today. But it still very much fit into what I would think a lot of the fears would be, especially at that time, and even some of the ones that we have today. Of you create this and you give it a mind to where it can develop and grow and think, then eventually it starts thinking on its own and taking over. Kind of like a Terminator kind of thing. Also, there's some parallels there,
Yeah,
but at the
definitely.
same point, very much an early version of it. At least it seemed that way to me.
So yeah, I kind of agree with that. But you got to think about in that early stage, you said World War II area. The access was not very. They were interested in some other stuff, as what one would say, dark magic. So if you look
Alchemy.
at it, yeah, alchemy. So, but the thing is, yeah, I agree with the brain of the machines was more like the early onset of the late, like in the 30s, 40s of Skynet. What Terminator was. You gotta think about it. Earlier on in the Terminator series, Skynet was actually building its own machines without any humans. This was doing the same thing.
Now, I actually thought a little differently, I guess, than you guys did. I really thought the Cobra. I called it the Cobra. I'm not sure which the actual animal's, the robot's name was, but how it could basically use its eyes or light or whatever to get them to, basically freeze up and then wrap its, basically capture it, to bring it back to the other machine. I just think that would, to me, that of all the machines, I really didn't think the dog / monkey or whatever, it kind of looked like a dog, but it kind of moved like a monkey. I didn't think that the pterodactyl thing, I didn't think was kind of more reminiscent, especially with that age. We're talking 1940s. That's just the beginning of flight. I mean, I know we started flight in like the early 15s, like 1915 or whatever, but I don't think they would have been at that point where they're using a fan and they're using wings and using the combination of stuff. I didn't think those two, but I thought I guess I'll call it the serpent. The serpent robot was, to me, the most realistic. John, how about you? What do you think?
I mean, overall, I think they just did a great idea of combining what we would consider, I guess, more modern technology with stuff in kind of the whole, like, I think they did well meshing this idea of technology with the iron factories and, just that big smelting pot and just trying to make stuff out of scraps and what's there. I think the movie did real well at kind of combining those two ideas. Like, here's this tech that we know of in the modern era that's at least talked about or coming, and let's take that back and throw it into these factories and machines. And I like the combo of that, especially the I guess more gear based, metal joints, that sort of idea kind of thrown in there. I enjoy those being together in that way. Yeah. Well, thinking through that and the movie as a whole, these guys are basically the scientists turned into dolls. And to my knowledge, the movie didn't really answer this question. Do you think the dolls could ever become human again? If they could be, if they could be kind of split from his personality, do you think they could ever rejoin? Or is that a no-go?
Well, you gotta look at it. Look in the movie. How many you had what, 2, 6, and 8 that was sucked into the brain, and 1. So you gotta think, if you could bring the scientists back by what was left, it wouldn't be all of them. So I mean, I don't think. I mean, it could be possible using the device, but I don't think it should. I don't think it will.
I'm kind of with John, with Chad on this a little bit too. Just that I think that the way that I understood the movie is that the human race was done; it was gone, and these burlap creatures, I guess, or for lack of a better term, were the only surviving members, other than the machine. And since they have taken the machine out, now it is their responsibility to ensure the survival of life. It doesn't necessarily mean human life, it just means life in general. So, and I mean, I'm sure that this may get into another segment later, but I'm sure that they ended up having to create something later on, but I don't know how they could have given it life, because they weren't they didn't have they had only a part of the scientist's life, not an entire life of their own. So I don't know. I mean, again, it's really dark on that, the movie is. So, and it doesn't give us a good explanation. That's just kind of my take on it.
I wonder. I kind of think a little bit of the opposite of what Dave and Chad are saying. Kind of. Here's why. One of the things that the scientist says at the very beginning of the movie, I think it's like the second line he says, is that these are the hope for humanity in the future. And kind of when you think about it, when you're looking at these little characters, they actually have a soul. They're a part of the scientist. The scientist even says later on that his soul is actually in these different characters. So you could make an argument that if they use the talisman, that they could eventually, even if they couldn't necessarily bring the scientists back, they could actually use they could actually use the talisman to actually create more of them, or even something like that. So the talisman is actually used to create, whether it's by machines or by them. And I think it could possibly go in that direction.
Yeah, I see that one. I think I fall more in that camp, but I think Chad and Dave, you guys are entirely correct, and it really just depends on how they work.
Yeah.
We didn't really get a strong explanation of that, and like if they're more like Horcruxes, and at least one of them survives, and then you can recreate someone from that, great. That's a Harry Potter reference, in case anyone was wondering on that front. So
Okay, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Voldemort split himself into 7 pieces. Half of the end of the series is them having to find those to completely kill off Voldemort.
That is sci-fi technically, so there you go.
Is iffy.
Kind of.
But so if they work like that, yeah, I could see humanity coming back. But yeah, the movie does kind of make it more bleak and like, nah, this is it. They either survive as dolls or nothing, like in the story. So, well, thinking along these guys as dolls and being part of the scientists, what part of the scientist personalities do you think each number represents? And are they accurate to personality types? I will start with Dave on this one, I think.
What part of each personality? Okay. I think number 1 is the leadership. Number 2 is inquisitor, I guess maybe it would be a good word. I mean, it really wants to know what's out there. He did a lot of the thinking and figuring out stuff ahead of time. He's the one that came up with the whole light, that turns off. Um, 3 and 4 were. I don't know because they didn't have any speaking roles. I don't know what in the world their part was, really, other than research and development. I guess you could say, I mean, where they had to do a lot of research. They were the keepers of knowledge, I guess would be a better word for it. Okay, that gets us to 5. 5 was the one with the half eye, right? Okay. 5 was your I would say loyalty. He's the one that he was loyal, always wanting, do we really have to? But he still is like, okay, I can't let you go alone. 6 was creative,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Creativity, left brain thinking, I guess would be a good word for it. 7, adventurous. 8 was I don't want to say drug induced because that's not right. The whole magnet, I would say 8 was one that I really struggled with on this.
He's the muscle. He's the muscle.
Yeah,
I
that's,
guess. Yeah,
that's that your typical bodybuilder.
yeah.
The
The
brawn.
one you want to
the-
be, yeah, the steroids or whatever. And then 9 is the one that kind of is that last piece that fits everything together. I
There
don't
you go,
really have
yeah.
a good maybe one that's adventurous, but at the same time not a risk take or
He's more risk.
sees a problem and fixes it, and just wants to do it, get it fixed.
So he's probably the combination between 1 and 2.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, if you throw them together, equalize each other. All right. Shane, Chad, y'all have any additions, changes, thoughts?
No, I think he covered it all, and I think one of the beauties of using all of these characters, when you think about where they came from, and they all came from this scientist, you could almost make the argument that they represent the positives and negatives that all of us face inside ourselves each day, and our positive traits, our negative traits, things like that. So we kind of have to wrestle with all of those things.
And the struggle within each other,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
the struggle is how much do I act like 7 compared to how much do I act like 1,
Right.
to how much am I like 9,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Chad, any extra thoughts there too?
No, I think that Dave hit it on it good.
Mhm.
The only thing like you saw 9 was more like at the end was so hey, I messed up, I did this, I'm gonna fix it. But then you
Ooh,
saw
accountability. Good one.
accountability.
Good one, Chad.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
See, the thing is, then you saw 1 like, yeah, you did it, but you're the one who knows how to fix it. So I'm gonna. He jumped in there.
There you go.
Yeah, you
You
notice
saw,
how 1 changed
yeah,
at the end. Yeah.
one change. You saw where I'm the leader. You gotta do what I say. But then you look at the end where he's like, oh, he knows how to fix this. 9 is he saw not 1 in 9. Say he can lead them people. He knows how to fix. Let's just. I'll take the bullet for the team. He sacrificed him for the need for the many. What he
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, really, see, I don't have too many adjustments either. I think for 3 and 4, I might attach knowledge and wisdom because they know how to look it up and then know how to use it. I think I would attach that to them. 8, I might say the judger. He's the judgmental one. He
I like
judges and
that.
executes
That's
judgment.
good.
1 and 9, I think y'all are hitting the nail on the head on that one. Because to me, 1's kind of expected leadership, what others expect a leader to do, and 9's kind of like a real leader, in that way, like, oh, he actually gets it done. He understands what everyone needs, not just the one need. And so I think overall, yeah, I think y'all are spot on with most of those. And my follow-up question to that is, why only 9? Are there only the 9 traits he had, or why 9?
Well, he might have been a cat person with the 9 lives.
Nice. Nice.
That's excellent, Chad.
Well, part of the number 9, whenever you're looking at how it is symbolic in a lot of cultures and religions and things like that, the number 9 is symbolic of completion or wholeness. For example, if you look into things such as the Mayan culture, the Greek culture, Norse mythology, Chinese culture, things like that, even looking into the Christian faith, which I mean we all are. You speak of the nine fruits of the Spirit, and I think that 9 is just that fullness, that wholeness, completion, and that's why they only picked 9 for the movie.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, I'm with both these guys. I mean, and I think if you would have done more than 9, I think you would have convoluted the characters. I mean, honestly, you could have gotten rid of 3, and but I kind of like, or 4, either one, and just had lower all the numbers down, so the movie would have been called 8 instead of 9. But
Yeah,
I did like how it had 2 of them as twins, and they had to work together.
Mhm.
So I think I think 9 was a good number. I mean, I think it was you got to see a different side of, obviously, the scientists in each of the different characters.
I agree. Wonder also with numbers 3 and 4, even though they didn't talk, when you have knowledge and you have wisdom and you have a curiosity, don't you need checks and balances? You need each other to make sure that those stay intact. You don't wander too far off when it comes to knowledge and curiosity. I don't know. That may be a little too deep.
Yang.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. That may be too deep, but
No, it's just deep enough. Well, let's dive into a little bit of deepness in the last one. So, this is something that the movie kind of hits at, and I think is a question we may see answered in our lifetime in some ways. But if we create machines, and again, from our worldview, having been created as people, we create machines. At some point, are machines going to attempt to emulate that same creation from scratch? In other words, are we going to get to a point, you guys think, where essentially an AI ran machine could create another sentient machine in that way? Like, are we going to get to a point where machines are creating machines that have intelligence?
Terminator. I'm sorry, but the thing is, we've seen it in all these movies we watch, like between like with iRobot and even the robots, the Friendly cartoon with Robert Williams, and I mean, you see it where that it's been done. Like I think you can, but I wouldn't want to see it. Yeah.
I'm the opposite. I'd say no. It would not. Just because, and this movie was all about it, is a machine does not have a soul. So a machine can only be as good as it is programmed. It could get more knowledge in its positronic brain, as we'll use for a data reference there, but it will not be able to be alive. and it may be able to make other robots, but I think it's only going to go as far as its programming is going to allow it. I don't think that there is a truly artificial intelligence out there where it will become sentient. I just don't know. Me personally, I don't think that will ever happen, but it's a possibility. Or as Mythbusters says, it's plausible.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Shine.
I am agreeing with both Dave and Chad. I'm kind of in the middle. Because do I want it to happen? No. Do I think it could? I think, as Dave just put it, it is plausible. Because I think that part of the thing is that humans are always trying to push the limit, go to the next thing, go to the next challenge, and I feel like there is a sense that humanity wants to play God from time to time, and I think that with AI, with artificial intelligence and things like that, as Dave so well put it, that does not have a soul, so there is a limit to that. But at the same point, you have people that are going to keep trying to push it further and further and further and further. So I think to some extent, you could see to where machines try to create other machines. But I also think that there's a limit to it because there is no soul in those machines. It is just a machine. You can only take that so far.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
I thought that was just kind of appropriate right there.
It is.
You know?
It is.
It's like, okay, AI could go only as far as its programming will allow it, I think. But
I think that's kind of where I land. I'm more optimistic on I think machines will eventually get to a point where they can create other machines, but I'm also on the point, like, you're right, they're programming. No matter what, humans are going to impart all that we are into the thing that we create, and that also involves all of the mistakes, which means whatever we're going to create is not going to be perfect either. And so I think if we're creating these machines that are able to think even just to a certain point in programming, we're finite, they're going to be finite. But the thing is, I think there's going to be this multiplier of mistakes to the point that at a certain generation of machines creating machines, it's just self-destructive. Like, I don't think they'll actually do anything because all of the mistakes of humanity and that we have will just multiply in of itself, and they'll just kind of self-destruct at some point. So I'm kind of I'm on the fence on that one too. So,
Well
yeah,
said.
that wraps
Well
up
said.
questions, though.
Well, that's what this show is all about, is, differentiating opinions, differentiating outlooks on stuff. We all have our opinions. So, and that's what this is enjoyable about this is, I go back and listen to these sometimes and I'm just like, oh, you know what? Chad said something really good there. I really like that. And I didn't think about it at the time, but then it kind of hit home later on or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I just use Chad, for example, but it could have been Shane or John or myself. So we'll go to our, that's all the questions, right, John? I didn't think you had any more, or did you have?
Yeah, that was it.
Okay. So let's go to our next segment, plot holes. Okay, in this segment, we take a look at the movie and see if there's just anything glaring plot holes out there that are just like in your face saying, hey, this was wrong and this is why, So did any of you guys find any particular plot holes that you guys want to mention?
Consider the movie as mine. I'll go first on this one. I think one of the most glaring ones is, how does the talisman kind of work without a power source? Because, right, doesn't it like turn on per se without anything happening with it?
Yeah.
So that's my big one, is how does the talisman work without power? Because I know eventually it gets plugged in the machine, but even the machine wasn't necessarily up and running to then power the talisman to then power it. So it's like, where is it drawing from? Which I know if we're going magic and mystical on that side, maybe, but even still, that's my biggie.
Okay, Shane, how about you?
Mine was on the talisman also, but I'll mention another one. and if it said this, I just missed it, and I'm sorry. We knew how all of the humans got wiped out. They showed that and all that. But what happened to the machines? Because when the movie first started, like the brain had been turned off, it had to be turned back on to start. And really the only machine out there was the little dog thing. So what happened to all of the machines if humanity was wiped out? I was kind of wondering that. And again, maybe I missed it, but I don't remember seeing that.
I don't remember seeing that either. That was one of the ones I was thinking is what about all the other machines? These weren't the only ones left that I could think of, but I mean, it could have been. I don't know. Chad, how about you?
Well, you said most of the things I saw. I mean, like, yeah, it was like the machines, like the doll. How's that still running around? And was it the brain itself to say, "Hey, I'm going to shut down and let this thing do its mission to find"? Because the dog was looking at the talisman. You saw when 9 went to go rescue 2 that the dog was actually to the machine, was about to plug it in.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it could be just they self-power down to find that talisman, because maybe the scientists powered the brain off to create the 9.
That's a good point.
Or we all just missed something about nuclear war and there was just radiation around.
Maybe. I have 2. They're pretty simple. What was the machine's purpose? I really want to know. When it came to, all right, he collects the dolls. What was the benefit that he got from it? He gets their soul, and he didn't change his behavior, the robot's behavior. So what is that going to do that he gets? So he gets all 9. Then what?
Yeah.
You remember the machine has some of the scientists in them too.
True.
Te-
So
te-
what? So again, is that what was was that the whole point of the machine? Is to get, hey, I'm going to get all 9 of these guys, and then I'm going to be what? I'm already self-aware. I'm already making my own robots. I didn't see a point.
Is that part of the soul piece that was missing?
Yeah.
To really make it work. I don't know.
Maybe. And then especially at the end, the dolls are alive, but they can't reproduce, so they can't continue to populate the world. We kind of mentioned that earlier. Is it with the talisman? Is that going to be able to allow a portion of the scientist? And then of course it's only one guy. So you think about it, one guy, the whole world's going to be populated after one guy. I don't know. That was just one of the couple of those things that just kind of threw me for a loop. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to go to our next segment. Fixing or improving. What would we do to fix or improve this movie? John, you picked it. You start.
Honestly, pretty simple for me on this one because I think they did well for what it is. Maybe include some more background story, explain a few more things. I think that in general in a movie this short is always going to be something we could add to. But realistically, in the real world, I think something I would have changed and fixed, I would have added a video game. I think a video game post or even during release would have helped it out a lot. But even just watching the movie, there were so many times I'm like, man, that would make a great video game. Like I could see it playing out in my head. And honestly, maybe even scrap the whole movie idea and just have it had been a video game. I mean, I think especially at the time it would have come out, graphics and stuff would have been just fine for it. Running it on a 360, maybe in the PS3, PS4 at the time, depending on when those came out. But I think graphics and stuff would have been fine for it. And a lot of what you see happen, I mean, I just imagined myself as a video game player, like going through a lot of those scenes. It would have fit just well. A lot of the talking stuff being cut scenes in between. I would have liked to have either seen a video game adaptation or even just the movie become a video game and that just be it.
Cool. That sounds like I'd play it.
Mm-hmm.
Chad, how about you? What's your take?
Well, I agree with John with the video game aspect, but the thing is my take. They just didn't improve this. It's like you saw the thing, but like you saw. I think what wasn't part of the movie was okay. You got 9, but you saw where he created 9, and all of a sudden he's still hanging there, and he gets down. But why did he create? Where was the other 8? Why was they not there in the apartment with them? Why didn't he just create all 9 all at once instead of one at a time and just kind of like
Yeah.
that? And then
Because one was the leader, bossy person, and decided, hey, we need to get away from here. I guess, but like you said, they didn't say that.
yeah, like get them all to like 9, and then show it and have the box had 9 on it. Say, and then play it for hey, this is how you use the talisman, and that would explain why he created them. And the second one is just he either explain a little more background story. What I mean, they throughout this movie they kind of it was a war going on and this what happened, but then what you were saying and what happened to the machine kind of explain put that in there because they would still be up and moving around if they wouldn't stop. There's
Yeah.
so
Yeah, and okay, I'll bring it. Wait for mine. Go ahead, Shane.
As far as fixing, I'll be honest with you. There's really not a lot that I would fix. I'll be honest with you. I agree with what John was saying about giving more of the background and things like that. But I mean, overall, I think it was really, really well done. I'll mention one thing that I forgot to mention in the beginning, the behind the scenes thing. This movie, when you think about it musically and you think about the film score, just because that's kind of where I go. This was a complete masterclass in how to create a film score that enhances the movie. The music was by Deborah Lurie and Danny Elfman. And one of the things that I loved, not only did they really kind of highlight the machine versus the natural by putting in some electronic music here and there to give kind of that mechanical thing, but also they did a tremendous job in maximizing silence to really build tension. They really did that very well. And to me, if you're looking at like if I was teaching a music and film course, this movie would be one of the ones I used because of how they used the silence to really build tension. They used the mechanical sounds in there, but also how they created themes for each one of the characters, symbolizing kind of what their specific character trait was. I just think they did a really good job with it. So as far as fixing, I don't really have much. I would kind of use this as a study for how you should use it to enhance the plot.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that a lot. Well, for me, I've actually got two different things I would do. First of all, if we're going to go ahead and keep it a movie, first of all, let's make it a feature-length movie. Let's go ahead and expand on some of the information. Let's make it the interaction between the different characters. They seemed very cliched in this movie, and just let's kind of expand that out a little bit. Make them, because supposedly there may have been a relationship between 7 and 9. Well, if there was 7 of 9, sorry, Star Trek reference. If there was going to be a relationship, they needed to build on that more. I think they could have done more on the interaction between the different characters. I mean, it seems so rushed.
Yeah.
But yet they did show where they were running couple at the beginning when you saw them running with 1 and 2 and 5 and 3 and 4 and all them running, then they hide underneath a helmet. You could see the big like AT-AT walkers in the background shooting lasers and stuff. If you wanted to kind of make it look like this was a long period, maybe show more of them in the background, but being rusted out and broken down and stuff, or they're taking pieces off of the actual robots that are broken down. You know what I'm saying? So it ends up being basically the dog one is the only thing left, and he's still frantically searching for that talisman. That's my first one. Second one would be scrap the movie idea, make it like a Netflix miniseries or a Disney Plus miniseries, and you could focus on each character. Week 1, focus on 1. Week 2, focus on 2, 3, 4, etc., 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 and have 3, 4 have some kind of dialogue, or because like when they were showing the stuff, the newsprints and all that, I couldn't tell if 9 or any of these guys could read. So I mean, I think they would have been better having a little bit more video in there, like they did at the end when the professor came up and gave him a video, because since 3 and 4 couldn't read or maybe they could read, but they didn't talk. How did 9 and the other people know what the stakes were and what happened?
Yeah.
So those are my fixes.
There you go.
Something different. Okay. Our next segment will be lights. You guys should have seen my face. I was like, lightsaber rating. We are going to rate this movie on a scale of 0 to 5 lightsabers. John, since you picked this out, sir, please your rating.
I'm not gonna lie, it's tough. I just went back and looked at ratings just to see. Either I'm just landing way softer on, I guess, what we would count as season 3 or something. I don't know. It feels off, but like it's on par at least with the other two. So I know I can't really go lower in my mind than those. And I don't think it deserves to go lower than those. However, looking back at some of the other ones, I don't think it quite meets quite that high. So I landed a 4. Great story, great score, as Shane said. Overall, very entertaining. Putting that in an animated format, I think, was a wise decision. So overall, yeah, 4 for me.
4, great. Okay, Shane, how about you?
I was just so impressed with this movie. I was very impressed in everything about it. When you think about when it came from what, a 10-minute movie that was a graduation project at UCLA, being picked up by Tim Burton, having some great actors in it. You think about like Christopher try that again, Christopher Plummer, and just different things like that. I mean, I think with the music, with the score, I just think everything about it was great. I'm usually a good bit lower, but I'm actually going to give this one a 4.5. I enjoyed it so much.
Wow. All right. 4.5. Chad, how about you, buddy?
Well, I enjoyed this movie with what it is. There's not, like you said, there's not much plot holes in this as we saw, but I'm agreeing with this. It shouldn't go lower than a 3, but I really enjoy this. So I'm with Shane, 4.5.
4.5. Well, for me, again, I'm going back to everything this whole, I guess, year. I'm going to go ahead and compare it to Flash Gordon. Is kind of because that was the first movie we kind of did with this one, with these sci-fi guys this year here in 2025, and enjoyment level, I would say I like Flash Gordon a little bit better. However, it wasn't cheesy. It wasn't plot holes. Like Shane said, there's times where the silence just got me. It was like, oh, okay, you're like, what's happening? You're expecting to hear a menacing sound or something, and there wasn't anything, and I am actually going to rate this higher than Flash Gordon, and I'm going to rate this a 4.
There you go.
This was a really fun movie. One of those ones I've seen it before. I have seen it, and I would definitely watch it again.
Oh yeah.
So we have another segment. Okay, other sci-fi stuff. And John's week is this week, so he has said he wants to talk about something. John, go ahead.
Well, we talked a couple of weeks ago about how we kind of thought around this segment and what kind of brought that up for me. And realistically, it was really simple, just because obviously other podcasts and stuff do this. But I was reading a book, and it just took me by surprise because it turned out to be sci-fi related, even though 98% of the book had nothing to say about or even think about sci-fi. And realistically, for any of you who love to read, if you don't like anything dramatic, like if you wouldn't enjoy a Lifetime movie and a book, probably still not for you. But it was just the sheer fact that I read it, because I mean, I'll read just about anything if it's entertaining enough and holds my attention. And so, but that last 2% was worth every bit of the other 98. And the other 98 wasn't bad. It's just, if drama isn't your thing, it's not your thing. But it's called A Day Like This by Kelly McNeil. And just a real surprising twist on it at the end that I think if you enjoy sci-fi, you enjoy the little twist at the end. If you enjoy drama, you'll enjoy the whole book. And again, overall, it was a pretty quick, simple read. Doesn't really require a whole lot of brain power. You're just kind of reading about a story. Starts off with a car wreck and ends up in a whole different world. And that's where I'll leave it at.
A Day Like This. For those of you out there that are audio only, we got a picture of it up here. So if you want to see what it is, go to YouTube, and maybe if I can find it, I can figure out how to link it in the description box. So we'll see. All right. With that,
Director Enterprise.
Please contact us. Tell us if you agree with our ratings or how you would fix or improve this movie, or if there's a movie that you would like us to review. The easiest way to do that is if you're watching us on YouTube is to comment below. For those of you that are audio only listeners, you can reach us on either X or Facebook at TheseSciFiGuys. Or you could email us TheseSciFiGuys@gmail.com.
yeah, we would love to hear from you guys. Our numbers are picking up. We're getting more on our YouTube channel. We're getting more hits on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. So, I mean, it's a fun thing that we're doing. Okay, so coming up next time will be Shane. Talk about it.
So this next movie is the movie Contact. It is with Jodie Foster and Matthew McConaughey. I think it was 1997 for this movie. I think a lot of really deep details in it. It really makes you think. And if you haven't seen it, the ending is very, very good and will really, really make you think about some things. So good movie. Check it out, and we'll be talking about it next. Very excited.
Yeah, that's going to be our next movie. It will be Contact. I'm looking forward to seeing it because I don't know if I've ever seen this movie before. Yeah. My grandson has decided he was upset and decided to come up here and see what's going on. So you might hear another voice in here. Who knows? So, all right. Well, until next time. Wrong button. So until next time.
Crash and burn.
These Sci-Fi Guys is an independent broadcast by The Sci-Fi Guy Productions. Super Epic is music courtesy of Alexander Nakarita and is found on creatorrecords.com. For more information on upcoming episodes, follow us on X at These Sci-Fi Guys. For our audio-only listeners, you can find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Like, subscribe, or leave a comment to let us know how we're doing.